The Empire State Building is so much more than just steel and stone. It's a real character, a silent movie star, a survivor. It's this constant in the incredible, ever-changing story of New York City. So today, let's dig into the biography of this icon, from its wildest ambitions all the way to its modern reinvention.
All right, let's just jump right in with a question that honestly sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie. Picture this. You're stepping off a massive airship, a Zeppelin, onto a dock that's 1,250 feet above the streets of Manhattan. Do you think that was ever a real plan for the top of the world's most famous building?
And the answer is a big, resounding yes. Seriously, this wasn't some fantasy sketch. It was literally baked into the original architectural plans. But, like a lot of those futuristic dreams, the journey from the blueprint to reality was, well, let's just say it was a little turbulent. So the grand idea was this 200-foot mooring mast for dirigibles. Passengers would float down from the clouds, disembark, and descend right into the heart of the city. Amazing, right? But the reality of trying to dock a giant airship with the intense, totally unpredictable winds at that altitude, yeah, that made the whole thing incredibly dangerous and ultimately completely impractical. The spire's real purpose was actually a brilliant and maybe a little sneaky way to officially snatch the title of world's tallest building from its big rival, the Chrysler Building, which had just been finished. Now that's ambition with a flair for the dramatic. Okay, so from an idea that never really got off the ground, let's turn to the building itself, which shot for the sky at a speed that is just impossible to imagine. So how did they do it? This story of its construction is this absolute marvel of logistics and sheer human effort, all unfolding during the darkest days of the Great Depression. I mean, the pace was just staggering. Take a look at this timeline. Construction kicks off in March 1930. Just a couple of weeks later, the first steel is already going up. A year after that, it's structurally complete. And on May 1st, 1931, the doors are open to the public. This wasn't just construction, it was a huge declaration of defiance in the face of economic collapse. So what was the final count? A mind-boggling 410 days from start to finish. And here's the thing that really speaks to the project's insane efficiency. They didn't just meet their deadline, they actually beat it by 12 days. At their absolute peak, the crews were putting up an astonishing 14 floors in just 10 working days. Just think about that for a second. That is a floor and a half going up every single day. It was less like traditional construction and more like a massive assembly line pointed straight at the sky. Now, to move that fast, you need a mountain of materials. The project required 57,480 tons of steel. And this wasn't just a lot of steel, it was the largest single order for steel that had ever been placed at that time. And it wasn't just the steel frame. Think about the facade, the interiors. Over 10 million bricks were laid to create this monument, and every single one of those was put in place by hand. But beyond all these massive numbers were the people. And this quote from New York Magazine at the time, it just captures the awe that people felt. The ironworkers, just dangling hundreds of feet in the air, were seen as these fearless, almost mythical figures, literally weaving the fabric of the modern city right before everyone's eyes. So, the building was finished, a total triumph of engineering. But its grand opening on May 1st, 1931 was, well, it was far from the massive celebration its builders had dreamed of. The Great Depression cast a very long shadow, and it led to an unexpectedly rough start for this brand new icon. This slide just lays out the stark contrast perfectly. On one side, you have the expectation, a monument to success, buzzing with tenants, and on the other, the grim reality that earned it the nickname the Empty State Building. Occupancy was painfully low, and the building wouldn't actually turn a profit for nearly 2 decades. To fight this image of being a failure, the management resorted to this really clever, if maybe a little desperate, tactic. They just left the lights on, around the clock, in all the unrented offices. The goal was to create this illusion from the outside of a bustling, successful, fully occupied building, even when it was mostly hollow. So how did a commercial flop transform into one of the most beloved buildings on the entire planet? Well, its salvation didn't come from office rentals. It came from a totally different kind of tenant, Hollywood. This is the story of how the building found its true calling and became a celebrity.
The Empire State Building has starred in over 250 films.
Its big screen debut was just 2 years after it opened in the 1933 classic King Kong. And from that iconic climax to being the romantic meeting spot in An Affair to Remember and Sleepless in Seattle, it really became a character in its own right, a symbol of ambition, romance, and New York itself. You can really track the building's role as a symbol for the city just by looking at its lights. It all started back in 1932 with just a single searchlight to announce that FDR had won the presidency. Now, compare that to today, a state-of-the-art computer-controlled LED system with 1,200 fixtures that can produce 16 million different colors for these amazing synchronized light shows. This building has a powerful story of resilience. In 1945, a B-25 bomber, lost in heavy fog, crashed right into it. The building reopened in just 2 days. In 1970, it lost its world's tallest title to the World Trade Center, a title it would tragically get back after the 9/11 attacks, when it also became a critical broadcast hub for the city. It has just stood tall through everything. But an icon can't just rely on its past. To stay relevant, you have to evolve. So how has the Empire State Building reimagined itself for a brand new century? In the 21st century, being an icon also means being a responsible one. The building went through this massive $550 million renovation with a huge focus on sustainability. By retrofitting every single window and upgrading its systems, it achieved a LEED Gold rating for energy efficiency, proving that even a historic giant can be a leader in green tech. And its popularity? It's as strong as ever. Even with newer, taller observation decks like One World Observatory, the Empire State Building still draws in more visitors every year. We're talking about 4 million people. It just proves that its magnetic pull has very little to do with being the tallest anymore. And really, that's the bottom line. The Empire State Building's identity isn't about stats. It's a true pop culture icon. Its fame wasn't earned by its height, but by its story, the one told in movies and books and countless photographs, which has made it, arguably, the most famous building in the world. All of this kind of leads us to a final thought. We know how a building is made, with steel, stone, glass, but a story like this one shows us something more. It makes you wonder, what is it that truly gives a structure a soul?